Welcome to the kingdom. I'm Chris, and this is Good Enough Gaming. Howdy folks, and welcome to this video where we're going to take a look at a news article that came across my Google feed. And I stared at it, and I read it, and I pondered for quite a while, should I make this video, shouldn't I, let it go, nah, say something. And I decided, you know what, let's just say something. So here it is. It's going to be about a new line of models, or a new kit, I should say, being released by Wargames Atlantic for Trench Crusade. Let's take a look at it. So as you can see here, the article comes from On Tabletop, and I watch their channel, not a ton, but whenever I want to see a demo of a game before I buy it, I always watch them. So big thanks to them for doing that for everybody. But here we have this new article. Wargames Atlantic partners up for new Trench Crusade set. Now, I was excited to see that. I'm very interested in Trench Crusade, having a little bit of a problem with fulfilling my order for it, but that's not about these guys. This is about Trench Crusade. This is about Wargames Atlantic. I am very happy with Wargames Atlantic. I have bought numbers of their kits for different periods of time. I bought their Ancient World stuff, I bought some of their Great War stuff, I bought some of their sci-fi stuff, and I've always been very, very happy with it. If anyone's not familiar with them, they make solid but very inexpensive. We're talking like $1 a model or less kind of prices here. So when I saw Wargames Atlantic partnering up with Trench Crusade, I was ecstatic. Well, maybe not ecstatic. Let's not get crazy here. Then let's come down to the first little bit here. And I see that Mini Wargaming Dave is involved. I'm like, oh, well, this ought to be good. I mean, thanks to Mini Wargaming Dave, we're getting things like Ravaged Star. So this is going to be fantastic. And then I see, okay, Trench Missionaries. And at that point, I thought, I think I know where this might be going. And I was right. So the Trench Missionaries, starting in the article here, this set of faith-driven warriors has been designed to slot into the world of Trench Crusade and be used as proxies for the new Antioch in the game. Great, I play New Antioch. They are Mormon-inspired missionaries bringing a unique character and depth to your games. Everyone has to slog away in the trenches at some point, and it's a great way. And it's great that we're seeing lots of alternatives come out for those who want to dive into a bit of kit bashing and customization. Okay, well, for those of you who don't know, Mini Wargaming Dave is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and he served a 2-year mission, as many of the young men in that church do. So for some reason, he and Wargames Atlantic decided to get together on this collaborative project. So first kind of comments here about that initial statement. This is not an example of kit bashing and customization. Dave was able to design, and then they had a professional sculpt. That's not kit bashing. I'm a big fan of kit bashing. People can make some amazing kit bash kits, but this isn't kit bashing, so don't sell it as kit bashing. Then, the next thing is this whole idea of being inspired by Dave's faith. Now, there's nothing wrong with that because I happen to share the same faith as Dave, and I too served a 2-year mission. So I can definitely sympathize with him there, but when I heard he did that, my first thought was, why? Of all the things to connect to a service like that, connecting it to Trench Crusade. Like, for example, you look up here, the Trench Missionaries. All right, most of what you see up here is going to be pretty unremarkable to many of you, except if you look here, the T. You've got this angelic figure blowing a horn. That is the Angel Moroni, and it is a major part of LDS culture, faith, doctrine, and history. But he's got wings. And it's a big part of LDS theology that angels don't have wings. So I'm looking at that going, okay, so they took the angel blowing the trumpet. That's definitely a part of LDS culture, but the wings don't belong there. Now, I understand Dave didn't design all of this from the start. He gave in some of his contributions, and they had some of their own creative license. So it's possible that many of the things that I'm not going to like about this weren't Dave's fault, but some of them definitely are. So we keep going through here. What do we got? Here's for some of the first models. They kind of give me a Krieg look to them. At least the dude in the middle here is. You can see they've got the white shirt and tie underneath. We got the World War I theme going with the tin hat there. Other than that tiny bit of collar, I'm not quite sure where I'm seeing the LDS influence here, the quote-unquote Mormon influence, especially this dude with the cross. Another very distinctive part about Mormon churches, we don't use crosses at all, ever. And so why would there be a cross on the helmet? So I'm getting really confused here. So I kept reading on. I saw the sculpts. I'm like, okay, by themselves, this almost looks like they more belong in World War II. But, okay, maybe I can suspend disbelief. So I come down here and I'm reading it. The set comes with enough bits and pieces to make a trench bishop, high priest, patriarch, warden, deacon, missionary, and sentinel. Now, bishop, high priest, patriarch, deacon, and missionary are all offices, positions, or things in the church. Those are real, but warden and sentinel aren't. So once again, was this meant to be a really direct kind of influence? How much of this was Dave's suggestion? How much of this was War Games Atlantic? And then it says all of them can be armed with trusty rifles and melee weapons, but also a mixture of different relics that should help shield them against the forces of hell, so on and so on. I mean, it is Trench Crusade. We come down here. This guy's, he's pretty bog standard other than the white shirt and tie. And of course, this guy, he's got it wide open. He's got his white shirt and his tie mixed in with like conquistador style armor. And I honestly, why doesn't he have his black name tag? If he's inspired by an LDS missionary, where's the name tag? Looking at some of these others, again, they look okay. I'm not blown away by them. You can see some of the influence. Coming down here to more of the discussion in the article, the set was concepted, is that a word, and designed by Dave Nordquist, also known as Mini Wargaming Dave, and then sculpted by Tu Duong. You can get a great set of alternative miniatures, so on and so on and so on. Okay, you also get the Towering Sentinel. If there's some kind of element of LDS culture, I'm totally missing it here. Maybe, oh, no, I get it. There it is right there, sun, moon, and stars. That is so unbelievably subtle. Unless you're a member of the church, you're going to have no idea what that's all about. And I'm not going to explain it here because this isn't a theology video. But subtle. Very, very subtle. If you're interested in how these work on their lore battle tactics, go to Mini Wargaming. Okay. So my first reaction was, why? On both sides. Why did War Games Atlantic, of all the religious things to bring in here, there were a lot of other religious orders that probably fit a little better into the Crusades than Mormon missionaries. And then from Dave's standpoint, I'm not quite sure what he was trying to accomplish here. My overall thought is this is what should have been a kit bash customization project that Dave should have commissioned. He wants to recreate a warband that reminds him of his 2-year mission. That's fine. And he could probably get some very, very highly qualified person to sculpt and craft and paint and make a beautiful set that's just for Dave. What I don't understand is why War Games Atlantic thought this would be a massive kit that lots and lots of people are going to buy. The church has a lot of detractors and enemies, and as far as I know, there's not a whole ton of members of the church that play mini war games. Obviously they're there. But who is this kit for? There's lots of folks who aren't Catholic but would love to play the Knights Templar, or who would love to play the Knights Hospitaller, or, want to play Trench Pilgrims or something like that. Like, that makes sense. I don't see too many people other than LDS missionaries and members of the church would want to play this particular army simply because of that aesthetic. But then at the same time, it doesn't feel like, for example, mine. I served a mission, but I'm not looking at these going, oh my goodness, this reminds me of my mission so much. So I'm not sure what the goal here was. What I'm guessing is War Games Atlantic calls up one of the most well-known wargamers in the entire industry, and it was a business deal. We'll make a warband based on something you think of, and in return, you're going to provide us a whole ton of free advertising, which obviously it worked because I'm making a video about it here. But I just have a sneaking suspicion that either A, these aren't going to sell too well, or B, they're going to be sold and then they're going to be kit bashed. And we're going to see a lot of Book of Mormon musical adaptations or something by that nature. I don't know. So I guess overall is, I think this was a miss, both on the part of Mini Wargaming Dave and Wargames Atlantic. To come up with a kit in plastic, that's a big ordeal. That's a lot of investment. And I just don't think the market's there to sell this. If they had done Trench Missionaries more generically and like had maybe a Jesuit in there, a Dominican, maybe one model that's an LDS missionary, that would kind of be better. You could have the Trench Missionaries and have representatives of missionaries from various faiths. That would work. But an entire army like this, I could be wrong. I'm not in business, but I have a sneaking suspicion these aren't going to be as popular as they might think. But you guys let me know what you think down below. I mean, for those of you who might be interested in buying this, I would be curious to hear the cross-section. How many of you are members of the church who wouldn't buy this? How many of you are who would? How many of you are not members of the church but would still be interested in a warband based on this particular theme? So let me know down in the comments. And until next time, keep your dice on the table.